Good evening, Gills fans. Welcome back to another episode of Gills in the Blood TV. It is Sunday evening, and of course means it's match day review time. And sadly, it's another Saturday defeat to reflect on. It's another home loss as the recent mini revival, if we can call it that. Rhys came to a shuddering halt at home to Harrogate Town. Accrington, the sequel, I think, wasn't it?
I think that's pretty accurate, isn't it? I mean, when we went 1-0 up, I thought, well, hopefully we've learned from our mistakes against that Accrington game, and we won't have a repeat of that.
And then when it went to 1-1, I looked at Boz and said, "This has got Accrington written all over it again," and so it proved, sadly. So,
Yeah.
if we're looking for consistency from our football team,
Well,
I am joking, of course. Right, 2 o'clock. Team news came in. It was a 3-1-4-2 for the Gills. It was Jake Turner in goal. It was a defensive trio of Connor Masterson, Max Emer and Shadogi. It was then Ethan Coleman protecting, Ramo Hutton and Max Clark as wing-backs, and then Timmy Dieng and Ewan Williams in the midfield, and a front two of the fit again Elliot Nevitt and Marcus Wiley. Harrogate went with, at least on paper, what looked like a 4-4-2 or a variation of it. Belshaw in goal, a back four of Sims, O'Connor, Moon and Azare, and then a central midfield pairing of Cornelius and Dooley, Daly and Duke McKenna from the sides, and then Muldoon and March up top. Rhys, I've written down another game we generally controlled for an hour, got ourselves in front, and then had no clue how to manage the football match. And as I've already said, Accrington, the sequel.
yes, exactly that. It's exactly that. And I remember, like previously, when we went 1-0 down, we would always say we're going to lose. That's it, dead over, and we can't get back into games. Now it's like we get in front, and I'm like, we're going to lose this. And that's a really weird feeling because that's cropped up now. And we get in front, and then we're like panic. We don't know what to do with ourselves, and that's a really strange mentality to have in a football match. Like it's that
word that keeps coming up, isn't it? Mentality. Again, it's the question. It's the word that's been used by not just us. I think every Gills channel out there at the moment, and social media is absolutely awash with it. So it's not going to change, is it? All the while this situation continues, and these results and these performances keep continuing.
Well, not if you can beat top of the table last week, and then that doesn't switch your belief that you can actually go on to win games in really important matches. Which, let's be honest, yesterday we should be winning that if we're aiming for at least even playoffs. And if we could beat top of the table, that should have a little bit of belief instilled into the team. And and you go 1-0 up yesterday, you think, okay, let's push on. No. Let's not push on. Let's just sit back and then be rolled over and have our bellies tickled, essentially.
Yeah, I was sat there thinking about it Saturday evening, and I was likening it to tennis or darts. It's all right breaking someone's serve in a game of tennis, or you win a leg of darts against the throw, which essentially was what Port Vale was. If you look at the form of the two teams, we were going into that game, and Port Vale were either serving or throwing first, and we managed to break that serve or break that throw. But it means absolutely nothing if you then go and do what we did, the leg, the set, or the football match afterwards. Yeah, it means absolutely nothing.
No, you have to follow up with stuff like this. We had a great opportunity. Not only did we have a platform to build on, like from beating top of the table, we had 14 days, 13 days to prepare for it as well. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that most people would see that as a positive, because you get injury players coming back. You can really focus on your whatever it is, tactic, structure, training, and I don't know. It's quite like you can't even use the excuse we have lots of games crammed together, so everyone's tired. You actually even got that to say. It's just, yeah. For me, it is the worst way. I mean, what's worse, if we got thumped 5-0, or like we did at Harrogate that season before when we lost 5-1? Would you prefer that the way we did it yesterday? And you know what? If you get thumped 5-1, sometimes you've got to put your hands where they might have to play quite well. But yesterday, I don't. Yesterday was a bit more painful, I think.
Yeah, it's just like you say, it's just too easy for teams again, isn't it? And we'll talk about home form a little bit later in the show. But I've put first half intensity was fine. Reduced them to sporadic counter attacks. There was a big shout for a penalty, Marcus Wiley. I mean, I'm down the other end. For all the world, from my point of view, where I am and where I'm looking, I can't see why Marcus Wiley would go down without contact, because he's literally one-on-one with the keeper. So for me, I think it's a penalty. What was your view? Obviously, you get a different camera angle to us.
I get a much more generous camera angle of that, and I've got to say, in the fast motion, I don't know why the ref isn't pointing to the spot. In the slow mo, I don't know why the ref's not pointing to the spot. I just I mean, there is a slight bit of me where Wiley probably is expecting it, and maybe as a result, when he feels something goes in a bit easy. But just like you said, he's through on goal. Like, like he's gonna take a shot, and he's in a decent position.
Mm.
Like, why take the chance that you might win a penalty versus you're going to get a shot on target? I don't know. But for me, that was. I think most referees would give that as a spot kick, but I wonder because he's through and there was no real clean attempt to play the ball, the ref has to make a tricky decision of red card. And it's probably easier for him to go, do you know what, I'll just let that play on. I mean, I've actually got a couple of things to say about that ref that I normally would do in a show like this, because I thought his performance yesterday was weak as an official, one of the most weak I've seen at pre-show probably since I started doing my own channel.
Yeah, I mean, we know what referees are like at League Two level. You know that I'm not a fan of any of them, to be fair, but I mean, we can't use that as an excuse, can we?
No,
That's,
of
that's
course
not the
not.
reason we've lost the football match again. But for me, it
No.
was a stonewall penalty. Like, there's no reason for Marcus Wiley to hit the deck. He's got the whole goal to aim at one-on-one with a keeper. After that, I think there was a couple of half chances, weren't there, for us? Timmy Dieng swiveled edge of the box, flashed one wide. Max Clark flashed one over from about 25 yards. There was balls into their box that they were struggling to deal with because of the conditions. And I think we sort of reduced them to a snapshot, I think, from James Daly that just drifted wide. It was a first half of no real quality, played in a howling wind, which is the same for both teams. But I said to Stocky at half time, I said, we've shaded that. We've been the better side. We've still got this weird statistic where we've now lost every game going towards the Raynham in second half. Yeah. But won every game when we've been turned around and gone towards Raynham in first half. But that's a a small side note to what the bigger problem is at the moment. And then second half, we came out really well, I thought. We pushed them back. I think there was a really good ball from Max Clark into the box, probably his best ball of the entire afternoon. Mm-hmm. That won the corner. And then, to be fair, he puts it into a decent enough area, and Timmy Dieng does well. Because I don't know what your angle was, but for where we are in the Raynham, it's almost like Timmy Dieng's almost run round it because of the wind. He almost goes past it and then does well to adjust his body. And you're thinking, right, now let's push on. We then hit the post. And at that point, I thought we was in control of the football match.
At that point, so Timmy Dieng puts it in the back. It's a good goal, good ball in the box as well. Mm-hmm. And Timothy runs well. I mean, it's really hard that the ball's like moving around everywhere. And actually, one of the things that I was mentioning yesterday is that we're not in conditions like this. You have to use it. You have to try and turn it into an advantage rather than a disadvantage, mm-hmm. and make it difficult in the box. Put some stingers in their floaters. Make it really hard for the defense to control to do something with it. And that corner was a good example of that, actually. And I don't think we were doing enough of that yesterday. And I think we didn't use the conditions to our advantage. But yeah, the ball dropped nicely. Teen got in front of his man and put it in the back of the net. And then, if it never hits the post, and you think, okay, we are pushing on. We are going to try and do something with this. I mean, we didn't as a result of that. But it's interesting though, because if Nevitt scores that, if Nevitt doesn't hit the post, it goes in the back of the net. I wonder if we break that like barrier, and we probably go on and win that like we did against Tranmere 3-0, for example. I mean, long are the days since we can do something like that, it feels already. But yeah, like it's interesting to me. But like, I just can't believe it collapsed so quickly after Nevitt hit the post, like on the 53rd minute, I think it was. But then after that, it was just all downhill.
Yeah, my next 3 words that I've written down are then what happens and loads of question marks, because I just can't understand how a team can continually go from one extreme to the other, mm-hmm. from the sublime to the absolute ridiculous, under the merest amount of pressure. We know, Rhys, in every football match, in every game, generally up and down the country, whether that's Premier League, League Two, National League, semi-professional, Sunday League, your opponent is going to have a spell where they put you under pressure in a football match, whether that's 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 45 minutes. We simply do not know how to react to pressure at the moment, because they have a 5-minute spell. All right, the equaliser comes with a little bit of fortune. I get that. The ball takes a massive deflection, it hits the post, and it lands at the feet of their centre half 4 yards out. He's never going to miss. But this is the point where I looked at Boz and I went, Accrington again. We got deeper and deeper. We got rushed. We looked panicked. There was no structure. I mean, there wasn't much structure to our play beforehand, but it just became so obvious of what was going to happen in the final half an hour of the football match.
No, you're absolutely right. That pressure comment is so clear as well. Like, And I mean, this is after Harrogate scored their second goal, and we'll get to that. But one thing I noticed, like from when Harrogate scored their first goal, was that they didn't let up, and the amount of high pressing they had in our half was was really compelling, and it was putting us under so much pressure, so much that we just had to keep kicking it long, and then we can't do anything with it, and we just lose off any play that any creativity that we ever have. But the amount of pressure, like, as soon as they're putting pressure on in our own half, in our back 4 or 5, whatever you call it there, and because of that, we're giving ourselves no out ball, and we're just kicking it long. But that's because everyone, they're pressing the back line, and we don't know what to do with it, and there's no one's helping. As soon as that happens, we seem to become all individuals and not supporting each other and just kicking it out, and that's it, and just kind of accepting mediocrity in defence in that context. And it's not good enough. And I know the conditions are bad yesterday, but they're also bad for Harrogate. Funnily enough, they didn't have a sunny, dry pitch to play on compared to us. It was exactly the same, and it's when that pressure comes onto us suddenly, we cave, and we just don't seem to know how to react to that.
So we must be so easy to scout at the moment. Because if you're a Harrogate manager, you just watch performances of recent weeks and go, right, even if you're 1-0 down, if you score a goal, this team collapses like a deck of cards.
Yeah.
Easy.
Or they could just watch one of our shows.
Yeah, we'll tell you.
Yeah.
We don't charge extra. I don't charge us. He does. He charges a subscription fee. I don't. It's all free. Anyway, got to try and make ourselves laugh. There was then some substitutions, but I want to talk about them later on in the show, just in more detail, for both sides. But obviously I want to talk about ours. And then the second goal is just absolutely horrific from our point of view. I think it's Marcus Wiley, who I thought was all right on the day, to be fair. I thought, again, very little service, willing runner. Could have scored if he's not brought down in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
Would have had an assist if Josh Andrews hadn't managed to miss the Rainham end from about 5 yards with an open goal 5 minutes from time. But he gives the ball away. But that's bad enough. But then there's just no intensity, no pressing, no desire to get back in. The shape's all over the show. It's one ball through the middle of us, takes everybody out of the game. Josh March has got the freedom of the Medway Towns, runs through. Jake Turner's got no chance. It's a smart finish. But my God, how many times have we said in recent weeks, we just keep giving goals away to teams?
It is, and I feel really sorry for Wiley, actually, because you know what? Like, every single person on that pitch had a bad touch more than once, and the thing is, the conditions are bad, right? If people can have bad touches, or have a little bit of consideration with your passes. A lot of passes yesterday were if it was dry and was in the summer, which you can take down and control. I think they were a little bit too challenging yesterday, our attempts to move the ball around. I think we didn't take in consideration this horrific weather that was even clear from where I was sitting watching it. And I feel sorry for Wiley. He gets the ball, it pings, and he tries to do something with it. Actually, he tries to get it around his man. He just miscontrols it. But of course, you can sometimes miscontrol it in this weather. But the key thing here is, fine, you miscontrol it, but you got to have teammates around you trying to anticipate that and support you when it happens, and not just fall flat and think, oh, my other teammate would support that, my other teammate would do that, and just not working for each other. And it just gives a space at the centre of the park. Great ball through, and then March, like I say, the whole. I actually think he had the whole space of Kent to put it at the back of the net.
Yeah,
but
it's ridiculous. He's basically got the whole half to run in, isn't he? And you talk about Marcus Wiley and that, but there was plenty more that did it far more times than Marcus. But unfortunately, it's his that leads to the goal. I mean, Max Clark was the definition of insanity. Keep doing the same thing that wasn't working, just kept doing it over and over, passing it to their right back or trying to play it inside, gives it to their centre midfielder. I mean, that was one example. There was plenty of others as well. It was.
I mean, it was every single movement forward was a bit carbon copy, and no one was really we seem to be quite risk averse in the attacking sense. Actually, no one's really taking a chance. We get into some dangerous positions, and then it just fizzles out because no one wants to make a mistake, and that in itself is a negative mentality we've seemed to sort of absorbed, and that is something we need to try and get rid of. But yeah, it seems that we seem to be doing carbon copy of our movement forward, and obviously people have worked it out and know how to defend against it.
Yeah, and it doesn't take a lot of working out. That's the saddest thing about it.
Yeah, that's right.
Like we said, in terms of the rest of the game, we made another couple of substitutions. We chucked some forwards on. We had a good chance. Josh Andrews simply has to score. I feel for him a little bit because he got absolutely dog's abuse from some people in the Rainham end. He's not done it on purpose. But that again just sums up where we are at the moment. I mean, he's got time to have a touch, pick his spot, but because I guess we're not in the greatest of form, he's desperate to do well and make a positive impression after all his injuries. He snatches at it, leans back, and it ends up halfway up the Raynham end. And shortly afterwards, the referee blew the final whistle. And yeah, we'll talk about well, let's do it now. I've got it in order, but that atmosphere at the end was as poisonous as I can remember. I mean, I don't want to harp on about other managers, but I don't remember a reaction quite like that under Stephen Clements. That was borderline vicious yesterday. And I'm not saying it's not justified. I mean, I don't get personal abuse. I don't agree with that on any level. But these players have got to stand up and realise now that they're putting in dross performances every week. I saw someone on Twitter say, "Oh, the Raynham end were quiet." Well, yeah, it's belting it down with rain. It's blowing a gale. It's dark before kickoff. It's cold, and we have to watch that again. So forgive us if we're not jumping up and down and enjoying ourselves when we're watching our team get beat again, making the same mistakes that they've made continually for a month or more now. The players have got to give us something to cheer about. I know it's a two-way street to a degree, but come on, that's not on the Raynham end yesterday. But that atmosphere at the end was, I don't know how much you picked up, so I'll let you go first. But how much did you pick up on the audio?
I tell you, so on the audio, I didn't. It's hard to hear it directly because BBC Kent obviously commentating over the top, so you don't get the direct feed, the sound. But one of the things you do see is the visuals and the reaction of players going towards the stand and so on. And they do like still shots of the stadium. And I have to say, yesterday, genuinely actually the first time I've noticed when they do a still shot of the fans of the Raynham end of the Midway stand, it's either empty or the people that are left. I tell you what, I'll put it this way: usually there's one or two people clapping regardless, yeah, and that normally happens. Apart from yesterday, I didn't see any round of applause once. I don't think, which is compelling for me. And everyone I saw you actually stand there with Boz. I think
I didn't boo, I didn't shout, I didn't clap, I just didn't do anything. I was just so nonplussed with the fact that it's happening again. Like, it's another season that looks to just be drifting towards mid-table obscurity, and I'm just fed up with it, mate. It's really, really annoying. It's really frustrating. It's heartbreaking in a way, because us as fans, we spend a lot of money going to watch this football team, and we want them to do well. Of course we do, and we want social media to be a nice place because everybody's happy because we're playing well and we're winning football matches. And I know that's not how life works, but it just comes back to that repetition, doesn't it?
It does, and
the same issues.
And the thing that I think I texted you it's yesterday, and I was just kind of like, I can't remember one of the last times where we've lost a game and gone, that's unfortunate. We really put a big effort into that. It just didn't come out for us, unfortunately. Like every time we lose, it's because of our own misdoings, right? It's not like we've given 110%. The other team were better. That is something which just. Doesn't seem like it's ever happened not for a long time. It's always.
And we've lost a lot of matches over the last few years as well. So there's quite a lot to choose from, isn't there? That's the sad thing about it.
And we seem to be in most, if not all, the games, the architect of our own downfalls. And rather than us going, the other team was significantly better and we gave everything. And it's just, unfortunately, we don't say that. I can't remember the last time we were saying things like that.
No, it's just, again, I'm repeating myself as much as they keep repeating the same mistakes. But yeah, there was booing. There was it was visible, gesturing towards players. The words Foxtrot and Oscar were used towards individuals, Bonner, players. Like that, I've got no issue with. Like, I get that probably comes from frustration. I'm not sure I'd class that as personal abuse, unless you're right up in somebody's face. But again, these players have to realise that they lap it up when there's a load of fist bumps after we've won a football match. But when you keep serving up that rubbish, you're going to get the other reaction, and you have to live with that. It just wasn't. I'll say it wasn't a very nice place to be. It wasn't, intimidating or anything like that. It's just a lot of pent up frustration, I guess, from a lot of people who'd sat in horrible weather for 2.5 hours to watch us get beat at home for Christ knows how many times in recent weeks.
And waited 2 weeks for it as well. That's the other thing. People waiting a long time, and you get served something like that, and you could understand the emotion, and I think Bonner mentioned it in his comments, like he gets it and he feels like it was deserved, and I'm like 100% deserved. Like, you know, like you just said, if you lap it up when you win a game, you're going to have to lap it up when you lose a game, unfortunately.
Yeah, you
And
got to suck it up the other way, ain't you? That's
yeah,
the thing. And
exactly.
I mean, Bonner, to be fair, has come out in his press conference. I've not watched the full thing and said we deserve to be booed off. We're a million miles away from being a good team, and we'll talk about Mark in more detail. But substitutions is where I want to go next. We've spoken about his changes at both ends of the scale in recent weeks. We thought Port Valley got it spot on in terms of team selection, changes. Thought he got it massively wrong again yesterday. I cannot for the life of me understand why at 1-1, when you're under pressure, having just conceded an equaliser, you number one take off your goal scorer, who I didn't think looked like he had a knock, didn't look like he was. I can understand the Nevitt one, the first one. He's not played for a while. Give him an hour, get Andrews on, like for like, no issue. Them two in the middle, for me, played a huge part in costing us the football match, as much as we were inept on the football pitch. You take Timmy Dieng off, who's scored a goal, so he's playing with confidence. He also gives us an outlet when you want to go longer and a bit more direct in conditions that are horrible and in a game situation where you're under the cosh a bit. So you can get out, you can get up the pitch. You then take off our defensive shield as well, Ethan Coleman, who again had not been flawless in the game, but I thought he'd done more right than wrong at that point. So he gambles and puts on an attacking player in Jack Nolan, who, let's be honest, has been massively underwhelming since arriving. So we changed the shape. I think we went to a 4-4-2 at that point, or was that a bit later on? Anyway,
yeah, but
he's basically just eradicated any type of midfield, defensive midfielder. And where does the winner come from? Straight through that area of the pitch. I couldn't for the life of me work out why he made them changes. I'm all for gambling and trying to win football matches and being brave, but that crossed the line into just borderline stupidity for me yesterday.
no, it's like you've got a three-legged stool and you've taken two of the legs away, and it's just collapsed
It all
onto the floor.
falls down.
Yeah, I mean, Coleman's had it hard this season, I have to say. But I thought he did, like you said, I thought he did okay yesterday. But even even if it's just, even if he was having a bad game, which I don't think he was, he still acts as that central kind of like pillar in the defensive midfielder role, and even if he is negative occasionally, still can calm the pace of the play down and get the ball moving around the back 4 or 5, whatever. And we missed that as soon as it came off. And yeah, the Dieng, I can't, like, what are we missing this season? Goals. We get a goal. Oh, someone who scored must be flying with confidence. Let's take him off. Why?
Yeah.
What are you doing? That was when 38 come up on the board. I was just a bit perplexed. I thought it genuinely was a mistake at first. I thought, no, you can't. Why are you taking him off? He looks fine. He said, looks fine. Like, what? Okay. I never considered the idea, of course, like later on in the game, he's an outball as well. Like that's what Dieng does. And he's got goals in him. He can set stuff up. And I'm just like, that's not, I mean, there's gambling and there's outright like 1,000-to-1 gambling. Like, you know, it's just that, and that yesterday was, I can understand why people think Bonner, if in doubt or has no plan B, just keeps chucking on players up top and hopes for the best, because when you do changes like that, it kind of compounds that belief.
Okay, and that brings us nicely. It's like we do this all the time, isn't it?
I know,
it's like
right?
We know what we're going to say next. It's like we talk to each other before we press record. All the secrets of the trade. Some statistics then. First one's the home form.
Okay.
So we were 15 unbeaten from the 29th of December 2023 up until the end of September. That was fair play. That was Stephen Clements, 11 of them 15, 4 for Bonner at the start of this season. This is only the league. We've lost 4 out of 5 on our own patch. And back to your point, teams haven't had to work really hard to beat us, have they, in any of them games, let's be honest. Grimsby, we've said loads of times, all right, they've done a job on us like we did a job at Notts County. So that was, okay, fair enough, and it just weren't quite our night. But then after that, Accrington and yesterday are exactly the same games, the same errors, the same patterns. Who else? Newport, too easy. Both goals are soft. Who's the other one? Is that all of them? Grimsby. Yeah, that's all of them. Yeah,
Yes,
that's
all of
4 out
them,
of the
yeah.
last 5. We've conceded 2 in each of them games, apart from Grimsby. And how many of them has the team had to work hard to score?
Oh,
0 for
no.
me.
No, not at all. And that's the sad thing about it, is that they've just essentially waltzed through in some capacity to put it in the back of the net. You know, I'm sure, like you said, a lot of teams come down to us and want to know how to play against us, and it makes me even consider the fact our victory against Port Vale could have been somewhat fortuitous, even though we did well. I just think maybe that was the exception rather than the change.
Well, that's the blip, isn't it? Unfortunately,
Yeah.
at the moment, and like we've said, it's about backing it up. It means absolutely nothing now. And I'd
Yeah.
say I gave him credit, and I got a little bit of grief for it, because I gave him credit based on the fact that we were up against a team that were top of the league and we weren't playing with any confidence. So it was credit in the sense that you managed to find a way despite not being very good.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't defend yesterday, that last half an hour again. And it's like our season just is encapsulated in that performance. One defeat, and we've gone from being a team at the Priestfield that no one wants to come to play against, because you're not going to get a lot, to now turning up and thinking, stay in the game, I'll probably go away with 3 points.
And that's really pretty bad, and it's not like we can say, well, at least we've got decent away form to fall back on. Right? Not, it's just like, if you take into, I think I had a quick look. This is going to sound horrific, but I had a quick look at the form table. Like teams like Swindon at the moment have more points than us in the last 5 or 6 games. Like,
So we must be bottom. We must be bottom 2, mustn't we?
I'm sure we must be. Like, but the
What, we
fact
got
that our home
4 points.
Yeah, it's just. But in games where where we should be getting something from at least, but should be winning, but we're just turning over, making it easy for teams, because there's no grit, there's no fight, there's no nothing. It just seems very easy for us to fall back and just let teams walk all over us. And I stand by this point again. Like, when we go 1-0 up, I'm sure a lot of the squad think we've won the game, particularly if you score in the second half and go 1-0 up. And I think there's an element of complacency in that mentality there is still rife through the team. And as a result of that, teams go, okay, we'll put a bit of pressure on you, make you collapse, we'll get 2 goals. Thank you very much.
And there's nothing to suggest that that's not correct, that theory, at the moment, because it keeps happening over and over again. From the start of October, so we beat Barrow 28th of September. We went top of the league. Everything was rosy. We'd beaten top of the league twice in 2 weeks or something like that. Lovely stuff. Sun was shining. From then, we've managed to drop 11 points out of 12 from leading positions. So we've now become a team that for years in recent history struggled to chase games, which we still struggle with, and we'll get to that. But like you've said, we now become a team that doesn't know how to hold on to a lead. So in that time, we took the lead at home to Accrington. We lost 2-1. We took the lead at Bradford. We lost 2-1. We took the lead at Swindon against 10 men. We drew 1-1. We took the lead yesterday against Harrogate Town. We lost 2-1. So that's 11 points taken. Even if you win one of them and draw one of them, suddenly the season looks a lot different. And the other side is we've been behind in 7 games this season, Rhys. And yep, you've guessed it, we've not taken a single point from any of them 7 games when we've gone behind. So we went 1-0 down at Doncaster, we lost. 1-0 down at home to Grimsby, we lost. Lost 2-0 at Crewe, went 2-1 behind at Accrington, 2-1 behind at Bradford, lost both, lost 2-0 at home to Newport, and went 2-1 behind against Harrogate. We've become a team that does not know how to front run or chase. That is massively concerning, surely.
Is that not? Are we in the relegation zone? It just sounds like, the way you've described that we're trying to cling on to 22nd place with that kind
I
of
think we would
statistic.
be if the first 6 weeks of the season hadn't happened.
Yeah. Like, yeah, that's terrifying to think that when we got relegated into League Two, and that's kind of the football we were seeing. Why, with, let's be honest, better personnel individually, let's say, or potential personnel in our team, aren't, we shouldn't be down having these conversations about that. It just really sort of solidifies the fact that there is something systemically wrong that needs to be addressed. And those I'm still processing those stats. That's quite incredible. That's how things are at the moment. I'm a bit gobsmacked with that. And
we talk about players' mentality again. And we can talk about questioning the managers, and we question Stephen Clements, and we question the players of that group. And I think Mark Bonner said on Thursday in the pre-match chat that he did with the club media team that it is a new group, but it's still a lot of the older players. I think Mark Bonner may be realising now that he's got more issues to sort out than he realised, because I've mentioned it 1,000 times. It feels like he spoke at the start of the season about you find about character and durability and robustness when things get tough. Well, we've simply folded, haven't we? But we can't keep just putting it on the players like we just keep putting it on managers, because start of the season we had an injury crisis. I think we won 6 of our first 8. We're top of the league. So you can't use that as an excuse now, Mark, because you've got more players back. So that's on you. You were getting more out of this group of the players at the start of the season because we were winning football matches and we were keeping clean sheets. So that's on you as well. It's fun, this episode, isn't it?
oh, it's lovely. I mean, it's rosy. I'm really enjoying it.
I mean, I don't drink, but God, it's 11 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah, right. It's just, well, if you go to any airport, you can have a drink anytime you like. So,
Exactly, yeah. If you're in a Weatherspoons in an airport, it's basically the law that you have to have a beer. So
yeah.
but it's Mark Bonner's getting more wrong than right at the moment, isn't he? As much as the players are as well.
Yeah, I think one of the things I just wanted to say yesterday, I posted my video, and I just wanted to make it clear, because it's very, people will either decide it's on the manager, it's on the players, and it's very written. I wanted to make it clear. Actually, it was everyone yesterday.
Absolutely,
absolutely everyone involved in that yesterday, and I don't think everyone's helping each other out, and that's the real, and manager and coaching staff include everyone, and I just feel therefore, it's. If you're going to have results like this keep coming at you, if that isn't fixed. But, as much as it is the players have to really sort of step up, Bonner has to step up as well and show what he's capable of in times like this. Because let's not forget, he did get promoted out this division with a Cambridge United side. So there's an argument to say that he knows what it's about. He knows what it's like to win loads of football matches. But his mettle needs to show. What's it like when you're losing a loads? Can you actually turn it around? Is the question here.
I'm guessing the jury is very much out. But if you had to answer that question now, I think you'd have to lean towards no, sadly.
Yeah, that is a real compelling thing to say, unfortunately.
But another segue, brilliantly done from Rhys. He talks about Mark winning promotion out of this division. So we're going to go back to players that have won promotion out of this division. I think it's fair to say in the summer we thought the recruitment was very good. Not so much at the moment. I think there's a lot of question marks over a lot of them for varying reasons, injuries, lack of form, that type of thing. But how many of this squad? Because we got Johnny Williams last summer, 2023, off of Bradford, and we made a big song and dance of it. And let's be honest, he's been very disappointing. So there was, and then there's been a conversation on social media for a while. Have we just signed names without actually really thinking, do they fit into a system or a style of play? That's not on Mark. That was before his time. But this summer, we signed Elliot Nevitt, good numbers last season. Jack Nolan, good numbers last season. Aaron Rowe, decent numbers last season. But how many of this squad have actually won promotion from this division? I can count 3.
I can identify one quickly.
Go on then.
And is that Timmy Dean with Exeter City would have got promoted with them, I think.
Timmy Dean in 21-22. And then Max Clark with Stevenage, 22-23. And Shadrach Ogie.
Ogie, yeah.
Albeit Shadrach Ogie wasn't a first-team regular. I think he only played about a dozen games. But he still played a part in a squad and a team that was playing with confidence, playing well, knows how to get out of the division. If we look at the summer signings this season, and I'm going over old ground a little bit here from Gills in the pub recently, but I'm going to ask you, Rhys. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to say a name and you're going to say hit or miss or not sure. Jack Nolan.
Not sure.
I'm going to say miss based on what we was. Armani Little. Hit. Aaron Rowe.
I've hardly seen him. Not sure.
So, yeah, not sure or a miss because...
Not sure or miss. I have no idea, really.
Marcus Wiley.
Hit for me.
Yeah, I've gone hit on that one as well. I think he's come into a team. He's come from very low down in non-league. He's had to adjust to becoming a full-time professional. I think he's been decent. I know he's not scoring goals, and that's what his job is. But there's a lot to like about Marcus Wiley, and I think he's one that I think if he does get one, could go on a run. But the caveat is we said that about our strikers for about 600 years, I think, since the Jurassic era. Elliot Nevitt.
Oh man. Do you know what? I'm going to say hit for one reason, and I think it's somewhere in him that if we get into a system that works with him, he can really ping them in. He's shown that previously with his stats, but that maybe everything's not working around him at the moment. I would say hit for that one.
Okay, I've gone not sure / miss because of the fact that, again, it's the same as Ryan. We've barely seen him, so I don't think you can call it a
fair
success.
Point. Yeah.
Ewan Williams.
Miss. I'm not sure.
I think he's a miss towards not sure for me, isn't he?
Yeah.
He come in, got sent off on his. I feel for Ewan in the sense that I think we signed him because we didn't think we was going to get Bradley Dack. Then we got Bradley Dack. So then he was down the pecking order. Then he got sent off on his debut, so he missed game suspension. Then he went away with Northern Ireland. Then he picked up a knock, so we just didn't see him. We almost forgot about him. I think he's been all right in the last month, albeit it's probably best of a bad bunch.
Yep, I think that's probably pretty accurate. But like I say, yeah, he's not been around, and therefore it's quite hard to make a judgment call. But with that being like that in itself is a miss for me because you're playing for a team, but you're not showing up as you're able, as it were. Like it's
Bradley Dack's the last one.
Do you know, miss? I really think that's a big miss for me. Like he's great. It was brilliant for us in the first spell, absolutely. And I tell you what, if he comes back in January fully fit and then puts on a performance and is the core of that centre of the park and actually just orchestrates us getting us up the division or like up the league, then I can see fair enough that was a good decision. But currently signing a player, put a lot of effort and time and money and finance into getting this player fit, which still might not happen. I think is a big miss because we could have put that into a resource and maybe found another Amani Little somewhere.
And that's the thing, isn't it? If we've said out of all them signings, 1 or 2 are a success out of about 8 or 9, and I'm not including Jacob Wakeling or Luca Ashby-Hammond, there's circumstances around them coming on loan, so I'm not including in that for that reason, then we have to question the recruitment again.
That's a fair point. Yeah, because it's interesting because I maybe you could help me on this one. Weren't we meant to be a recruitment that was based on like statistical analysis? Was that meant to be?
It was meant to be data driven, wasn't it? We had this thing
data
came out. Yeah. Well, I'm not sure what data we've looked at then. And I get, like you've said, these players could all get fit and could have a wonderful second half to the season, and we'll be sitting here in May and going, "Oh yeah, well done." But we can only say it as we see it now.
Yeah, but like I get the idea of a data-driven approach. I think that works in most businesses actually, and that's a good thing. But it can't be the only thing. And I wonder if we've decided it's the only thing, and we've neglected possibly character and anything which is qualitative rather than just quantitative. And I think, you have to have a mixture of both to make the character, the camaraderie, the chemistry of the team work. And that sometimes you can't quantify that. That's all about development and character and personality. And if you neglect that and just do data-driven approaches, unfortunately, you're tripping yourself up, or at least not giving yourself the best opportunity to get the best team working. You need to have both approaches. No wonder if we've neglected one of those.
Exactly, because we talk about stats, and I love stats, but you have to do the eye test, and too many are failing on the eye test at the moment. That's new signings and the team as a whole, squad as a whole, coaching team as a whole. Final point, just to end on a really high, was there was a tweet went out from a club employee late last night that I was made aware of earlier today, talking about our captain. I'm going to just leave it there, Rhys. I'm not going to put opinion on it. But it just sums up where we are as a football club at the moment, doesn't it? That we've got club employees, and I'm not saying this person is wrong or right or somewhere in between. It's that person's social media account. I'm sure they're allowed to do what they like with it within reason. But it just sums up where we are at the moment, doesn't it? It's just we're just not a very nice football club to be around at the moment, are we? For one reason or another. Which
is crazy to think of all the good things off the pitch that the Gallatins have managed to put together over the last year or so. And try to and have done all the right things in off the pitch activities and processes to get the foundation there to make the Priestfield enjoyable to go to. What's left? The football,
which is the only primary reason why we go there, and that's the only bit that keeps falling down.
Yeah, So
And to finish this week's show, sorry, carry on.
no, and so I was just going to say that is, and it's sad that it's come to that. Was kind of my ending of that we can't seem to get that bit right, but everything else outside of the football, we seem to be on the money.
And the Gallinsons would have seen that yesterday. They'd have seen that reaction to them players. They'd have seen that reaction to that manager. Has Brad Gallinson, this is my final question, maybe with his constant comments, and I love ambition. I love Brad, and I love that he's visible and he's transparent as much as he can be. But this whole, we've got to get out of this division as quickly as possible. Has that put too much pressure on Mark Bonner, Stephen Clements, the players? Does he have to be culpable because he's set this bar so high, it's almost like if we don't get promoted, we're failing?
Yeah, there could be an argument there whereby he's made the criteria of success very challenging, and therefore it makes it easier for everyone to fail, and as a result of that perpetuates a negative atmosphere between the fan base, which then that's a big cycle of decline. That works if, let's say, we did get promoted very easily. That compounds it and everyone's feeling great and you start to just win everything. And I think it's a big risk approach because it could really work and it could really boost the team. If you get promoted, then everyone's high and everyone's like, yes, let's keep going. But if you set the high bar up to fail and therefore makes it easier to fail, it gives the impression that we're failing, and all of a sudden the pressure mounts. Everything becomes fractured both on the pitch and off the pitch, and you create a very toxic atmosphere amongst everyone. Just because you've set the criteria bar way too high, which increases the pressure. That is a possible argument.
Does there? Like I said at the time, and I wasn't a fan of Stephen Clements, people know that, but I didn't think the Clemball hashtag after Charlton in the Cup last season helped Stephen Clements. It raised expectation. It reduced the wiggle room. The lines became finer. I think that's happened again because we've got to get out of this division quickly. That keeps being said. Mm-hmm. To finish up, I'm going to say one thing that Tony Pulis said years ago at the end of a documentary, after he'd got us promoted into League One and then nearly got us into the playoffs at the end of the 97-98 season. And he said at the end of that series, you can have all the best facilities and the best social club, because it was an era when you still had a social club, but predominantly fans come to watch your football team on a Saturday afternoon and during the week. And that is the bit that we're sadly getting wrong at the moment.
I think that's pretty accurate. I think it's very easy to get off the pitch stuff right, but it's also, I grant, it's tricky to get the on pitch stuff right, but we're not giving ourselves the best chances to get that right. And therefore, people going to watch the game and come just for that are not being rewarded by coming to watch the game on Saturdays and midweeks and home and away. Sorry.
People are probably watching home and away instead, to be fair.
Yeah, it could be.
But there are other Australian soaps available. I'm going to end it there because we're going to get delirious. Rhys, as always, it's a pleasure. I don't enjoy talking about losses. You don't enjoy talking about losses. But what we do try to remain is consistent and to talk about them as much as we talk about the wins, because it's the same theory as the players. If you're going to get the adulation, you have to take the stick. So we have to talk about the rough and the smooth. And there is more rough at the moment. So if you are still watching at this point, Gills fans and Harrogate fans, thank you very much. You know what to do. Please keep pressing like. Please keep hitting subscribe. Please keep checking out Rhys's channel. No content this coming week because we have another free week because we're out of all the competitions knockout-wise, aren't we? So no FA Cup for us next weekend. No Bromley match day live, sadly for me. Didn't get a ticket. It's been fun, this one, Rhys.
Yeah. Happy Sunday.
Aside from the football, we hope you've all enjoyed your weekend. And until next time, up the Gills.